Hello.
Hi, is this Loretta? This is Terry and Tiffany from CRAGG Live.
Yes, hi.
Hi. All right, well, ladies and gentlemen, let me do the official introduction. We are so excited to welcome our featured guest for this evening. We were going to have her on a couple of weeks ago, and we didn't get a chance, but now we finally get to sit down with actress and author Loretta Swit. Welcome to the show. You're on the air with Terry and Tiffany.
Thank you. It's nice to have you call me this way. And artists. The book that you talk about that I've written is filled with my paintings. And the book is, of course, you know this. It's being sold with the proceeds to go towards my charity, which is a humane charity. It's called Sweethearts Animal Alliance. And I'm thrilled that you want to talk about it and that you know about it.
Absolutely. Well, we definitely want to talk about it. You know, animal rights and charity towards animal is a very close thing to our heart here. Every animal we've ever had has been a rescue or an adoption.
You're my kind of people.
Absolutely. So tell our listeners who don't know, who haven't had a chance to pick up the book, exactly what it is that they're in store for, because as you mentioned, you are an artist as well.
The book is filled with over 60 paintings, watercolors of mine, mostly of animals. There are a few florals, so I guess we stay in the community of nature. But mostly they're animals. Rescues, some of them are paintings of my animals. Some of them are from calendars from organizations that I work with, like By the We, like Farm Sanctuary, like a Wildlife Way Station, and on, ASPCA, the HSUS. So all of these, they're listed in the book, organizations I've worked with, done campaigns with, and talk about, so that people... there are people out there who don't know enough, and this is a way of teaching them how they can help, how they can be valuable to the humane community. I run into so many people at book signings who say to me, "What can I do? How can I help? How can I, And gosh, there's I pull out my list of things that they can do without even leaving home. So it's a valuable book in that regard, but also it's a lot of sharing. I'm a people person, a people actor, people celeb, whatever. I love my audience and my fans and my friends, and I enjoy sharing what I've come to know about the environment, about the humane environment, with my fans, with my friends, and get them involved in causes I believe in deeply, and I think that they relate to.
And
so, yeah.
This is Terry, Loretta, a big fan of yours. I wanted to mention, too, as far as animal activism is concerned, we all think of dogs and cats and so forth, but there's been a big movement lately in the Los Angeles area in reference to all the deaths of the horses at the racetracks. Can you give us your opinion on that?
Well, what you read is what you get. I mean, this is a dead animal to us is a concern,
right.
And to go further, puppy mills are a blight on the society, on our society. Right. They're inhumane. They're non-hygienic. They raise cats and dogs, kitten mills and puppy mills, foster animals that are sick, that are unhealthy, that are contaminated, and they sell them to the public who don't know any better. They think that they're helping, and what they're doing is making things worse by buying animals from these situations. Now, the HSUS and other organizations try to weed out these puppy mills, for example. They're not proud of what they do. They know they're doing things that are wrong, and so they're not easy to find. And when they're disrupted and overturned and the police come in and close them, they pop up elsewhere.
Yeah.
But they're always around in hiding. Sad to say, there are some the Amish, who are lovely people, for some reason do not have the same regard for the life of a sentient being, and regard dogs or cats or horses or as non-feeling creatures, and they don't respect their form of life. So, there are people who just simply don't know any better. There are people who are cruel to animals because maybe it makes them feel stronger. Maybe it makes them feel better. What I'm saying is education is everything. Teaching people what's right and what's wrong, and what we can do to fix it, to change it around and make it better.
Where did you first get the idea to help out this great cause with your talent, with your art, with your pains? Did it just suddenly dawn on you one day? I know you're a friend of Betty White's, and I know Betty White has definitely recognized you with an award for what you've done.
Mm-hmm. Betty and I have done a lot of campaigns together. She's a terrific lady and a terrific friend, and I just absolutely adore her. We're, I think, asking what moment in my life or time that I said, gee, I think I'm needed here, or I can't think of a moment. As far back as I can remember, I was always bringing home strays. I always had that was my bent, to help anything or anybody or any sentient creature that couldn't speak needed my help. I mean, there was a sweet little lady on the street today who didn't speak English, and she was lost. Well, I tried to help her. I tried to find her. Well, I mean, I think that's what we should all be doing. We should be taking care of each other. Right.
I just think it's amazing she didn't know who you were. I mean, I can hardly think you can go to the gas station without being recognized.
She was Asian, and she was very, very, very old, very elderly, and I'm not even sure she could see well. I mean, she was just troubled, and looking for help and looking for a family member, as far as I could see. That she was just abandoned or lost. But I'm pretty much recognized everywhere. Sometimes it takes a moment or two. Sometimes the shock of recognition, like somebody will pass me, and then a few yards later will turn around and scream, "Loretta!" or "Miss Swit," and it's like, wait a minute, they have that moment of, wait a minute, do you know who that was? I think that's oh my God, and they double back and whatever, or sometimes they'll run after me and say, "Can I take your photo?" or whatever like that. But we're pretty much recognized, although I'm. The thing is, m.a.s.h is on the air everywhere, 24/7. I mean, they're like m.a.s.h marathons. So I don't even pretend to be anybody else. I don't try to look like anybody else. And I never thought dark glasses I thought wearing big dark glasses was a giveaway. Like, who are you hiding from? You know, why? so I never did it. I had a funny experience that I will share with you years and years ago. I was going into a big department store in California, Beverly Hills, and I was wearing, not to hide, but these beautiful, you know, the Audrey Hepburn big sunglasses, really pretty things. And I walked in and went to the perfume counter, I think it was, and the woman looked at me and said, "Wait a minute, I know those lips." It was the only thing you could see on my face. The glasses covered me, and she said, "Wait a minute, I know those lips." So I thought, well, so much for that. You know?
Wow.
But I think that once you come to grips with, you make your peace with being famous.
Right.
Also, I think it's easy and wonderful for us because the m.a.s.h cast are so loved. I mean, people so love the group and the show. And so they come at us with love. It's not only recognizing us, it's we love you, we love your show, or we love Margaret, or, you know. So it's a lovely way to live. People, strangers that you make friends of, who love you.
It's all cool until somebody slides a paper under the toilet stall and they want an autograph.
I'm happy to say I have not had the pleasure of that experience.
Well, I've got to ask you, because
but you know, you have to see the humor of it, or else, you know, actually that's your cue for life.
Absolutely.
If you try to see the humor in things like that, don't think of it as something terribly negative. It's somebody who's so passionately trying to get your autograph. I mean, you have to laugh at that.
I wouldn't expect any less from somebody from m.a.s.h. I've got to ask you, we had your friend Michael Lerner on, and she also is a lovely lady. And she was talking about the Icon Award, and I know that you also were recognized. Now, I'm going to put you on the spot because this was hard for her, but she had a very unusual answer. And what does it mean to you to receive something that says you're an icon? What does it mean to you to be an icon? As down to earth as you are.
Yeah, so is she. So are I. Actually, Lainey Kazan was the other recipient. I mean, the three of us are so, talk about earthy and down to earth. If you had to stay up all night, can you think of three women who are more earthy and more down to earth? It's a glorious tribute. I mean, to be told your persona, your character that you played, or your professional image, an icon. I mean, such a powerful thing to call you. You really just have to try to swallow hard and try to live up to it. I think that's probably Michael would think that way too. I'll do my best to live up to that. You know, there's this wonderful saying, because I'm so animal oriented, I would love to be the person my dog thinks I am.
There you go. Oh,
you know,
God,
dogs are so adoring, and they worship us, and they love us, and we can do no wrong. We just, like, no matter what we do, they want to kiss us and lick us, and so I think it's a lovely sentiment. I hope I'm the kind of person that my adoring animal thinks I am, and that could be a goal. Well, the Icon Award sort of brings those feelings. I hope I can deserve this. I hope I can earn this and be this.
I've got to say, you've got to be the nicest person, because I'm friends with somebody that was part of the catering for that event, and as somebody that sometimes celebrities refer to as the help, she said you were so nice that you were the nicest person.
The help. I love the help. I love the help. I am the help. You know, it's a curious thing. We have categories of service. There is a category called supporting actor.
Right.
Okay, and on review, when you're outside looking in, you realize that we're all supporting each other.
Right.
Nobody ever wins an award alone, ever, ever. I don't care what they're calling it. A group, a huge group of people helped you walk up those stairs, down that aisle to get that trophy, honor, plaque, statuette, whatever. And that's a part of the outreach I talk about with animals. You know, we should all be helping each other.
Exactly.
There are so many phrases that encapsulate that thought, and we can tell the value of a society, of the humanity of a society, by the way it treats its animals.
Right.
I also, with my Sweetheart Animal Alliance, we have different projects, and the focus of our project today is bringing back the dogs from Afghanistan to reunite them with their handlers.
Yeah.
Okay, now here we have a human animal and an animal, and we're helping the whole picture.
Right.
We're bonded. If you ever saw the bonding between these teams, how they relate to each other, and it is palpable. To separate them is criminal, and every chance you have to bring them together is imperative.
That is so cool that you're involved in that, because I was even thinking about that with m.a.s.h. Now, you know, I don't know so much about your character, how she would have felt about that, but I'm sure there was a lot of dogs in the Korean War that went through a lot of stuff, and to hear that you as Loretta Swit, actress, is doing something about wow.
Actually, you know, I don't meet many people who are not aware of my passion in this regard, because this is not a new thing in my life. I've been doing it all my life. I think it is more prominent now because of the book and because I have more opportunities to talk about my projects. You know, I'm out there talking about it more, and social media has taken over since I've been doing this. So I think people know that about me. There was, in fact, an episode written specifically for my character, so that we could display her feelings about animals.
Right.
The camp dog gets hit by a jeep, and they wrote about this for my character because she breaks down, and she breaks down to illustrate that she's been holding in all this pain.
Right.
When she's in the OR, she can't afford to let out her emotions. She has to be tough. She has to be in charge. She has to be there for the surgeon. And in the mess tent, she overhears that the little camp dog that she's been sneaking food to, she hears that the dog's been hit by a jeep, and she runs to her tent, and Hawkeye sees her and knows that she's having a breakdown and follows her, and she's, hysterical. And she's saying, "Why am I crying over a dog? I'm surrounded by death." And it's quite clear that her emotions are It's death. She's crying because of the pain and the suffering and the death that she's surrounded by. And here in private, she can mourn the life of the little camp dog. And I think that was what was so wonderful about the show. They explored all these different areas of people, real people. I think that's why the audience is still so involved with us, because they were so real. The audience could relate to all of those characters in the ensemble.
Right. Well, you had so many great writers. I wanted to find out, because a lot of people have commented on the evolution of Hot Lifts, because she softened over the years, and you're kind of talking about that now. Did you have anything to do with
it? I just only take exception to the word soften. I would not describe. I would not. It would not be my language. I mean, that's how you observed her. That's okay, and it's not bad. It's just I feel not quite correct. She had, when we began, this is a war-oriented epic. This is a male-oriented war, and so forth. So you have this one woman, and sitting down with Larry Gelbart, who is saying to her, "We don't know where we're going yet with her, because so just hang in there, and we'll both work and find out who she is," and so forth. This was a challenge for everybody. She developed and grew the most. She evolved the most because she had the furthest to go.
Right.
Initially, we were not writing for her as in depth as we were able to as we progressed, and also in terms of her development with the other doctors. Alan had written Comrades in Arms for us early on. But he and Gene Reynolds, who was our executive producer at that point, and Larry, felt the audience was not going to be ready to accept that relationship as early as when Alan wrote it. And I forget maybe it was the 5th season or whatever, that we finally were able to do it because the audience had also come along with us. You have to understand 11 years.
Yeah.
When our audience, some of our audience began to watch us, they might have been 10 years old. And they're looking at Klinger, and he's funny. He's a guy dressed as a girl.
Right.
And they're laughing at that.
Right.
As they get older, and certainly by the finale, and when they're watching syndication, and which they're still doing, we see the different levels of not only Klinger's growth, but the audience has also grown up and come a long way to understanding that this guy was so miserable in the Army, he would do anything to get out on a Section 8, so he would pretend to be crazy and wear women's clothing. So Gary Berghoff was so incredible as Radar. I mean, he's sitting next to this guy. He's a married guy with kids, and he was always like a little kid to me. He was so totally that character. He was just, there's not a moment on that screen in any scene that he's in, and he's not that little boy Radar, that little kid who you totally believed he slept with a teddy bear. And while I never discussed it in my head, I thought Gary slept with that teddy bear. I mean, he was just so much that character, and he evolved to and when he left the show, he was going home to take over the family business and the farm, and he had totally matured and grown up and changed, and you knew that he was going to be taking care of real animals, yes,
for sure.
But he wasn't sleeping with a teddy bear anymore. This was a guy who, but you need the time to do that.
Right.
You need 11 years
Yeah.
to do that. I mean, if you run for 2 seasons, you're a cardboard character. You have no way to keep growing. And so it is a blessing to have a long run. I love long runs. I've done maybe 1,500 performances of Shirley Valentine. When you're doing a human being, not a character, this is a human being that you're fleshing out and filling out, and each moment is a breath and a life of. You observe yourself. Me, Loretta, how have I changed from this morning till now?
Yeah.
So it is a gift for an actor.
Absolutely.
To have an opportunity to have a long time to explore all of those growing periods, those wonderful periods of growth. And I was blessed with writers who would sit down with me, and I would say, I can't. For the bone of contention for the first couple of seasons was trying to get out of the relationship that was so funny and so entertaining, but stifling the relationship with Frank Burns.
Right.
And the writers were writing Larry, a brilliant actor, Shakespearean actor. He was fantastic as Burns, but they were writing him more and more as a nerd, a nincompoop, a doctor who was not as skilled.
Yeah.
He was not as skilled. He was a warmonger to a degree. He wasn't super bright, let's face it. They were writing, and he was funny. He was a funny character. They were writing her more intelligent. She was dedicated to her craft. She wanted to be the best damn nurse in Korea.
Yeah, and
that
she
was
was
her
for
goal.
sure.
Yes, yeah.
She wanted to win she wanted to win her father's appreciation and pride, and she wanted her father. She had so much to prove. I mean, she's from a military family, and she's a, quote, girl. Her father never had the soldier that he always wanted for,
for sure.
A son. And she had to be that, or thought she had to be that,
Well,
And again, the writers gave me all that ammunition. They would write stories about her and about the father coming in, Andy Duggan, coming in and being this tough general that she could not please, she could not win for losing. And so it gave the audience such insight into those people, into her, into what made her tick.
Well, you become a family, and you play off each other, and you're so used to each other and how you're going to react on screen and so forth. What was it like when it changed from McLean Stevenson to Harry Morgan? Now, I know you were a dear friend of Harry Morgan's, a neighbor, in fact.
Eventually, yeah, we became neighbors. Well, the wonderful thing that happened, because all of these people you're talking about were so talented, and all we did, acting is also reacting.
Right.
So you're reacting to this new blood that comes into your life. And we were blessed with the people who replaced, and they weren't really replacements. That was also brilliant on the part of the production team. They didn't try to replace a character.
Right.
David Ogden didn't come in to replace Larry Linville. He couldn't have been further afield in his character and his persona than Larry Linville. And here was a guy with a thick Boston accent who came from wealth, who couldn't stand the dirt and the swamp and the swampies and and so it was a totally different character, and we all reacted accordingly from where we were, who I was. How did I feel about Winchester? How did Margaret react to Winchester? So Hawkeye and Trapper and then BJ, and how did each of these characters react to those new characters? When Harry Morgan came in, all of our characters, all of our people of the ensemble had to size this new colonel up. What kind of a guy was he? Was he going to be one of the guys? Was he going to be Army? Was he going to be tough? Was he going to be, And so especially the doctors in the swamp who didn't like to wear fatigues. They were in Hawaiian shirts and, bathrobes. And how was this new commander going to react to that? And by the end of the first or second episode, there was Harry Morgan Potter in the swamp getting drunk with the guys.
Yeah.
So you kind of had a good idea that this guy was going to be a lot of fun, and he was Army, but he was very human, and he was not the clown, if you will. McLean was just the funniest man who ever walked the planet. He didn't know how not to be funny,
right.
But he made that character work. He was a commander. He wasn't the commander that Potter played, or Harry played as Potter, but he was funnier. He was less secure. He would give sex talks in the mess tent that were hilarious. He was embarrassed. He was, so he was a different kind of human colonel, and he also commander, I should say, and he also would send away for girly films from the Tabasco Company. I mean, he was a totally different commander. And so what happened was, it was like a shot of adrenaline every time we had a cast change.
Oh, sure.
We had a new person, and this was this person. Who was this person, and how? And then, of course, the writers, in their infinite impishness, would put the strange combinations together. What if Houlihan was having a birthday quietly? She wanted to sneak off to Tokyo and celebrate it with people who appreciated her instead of these doctors.
Yeah.
And what if Klinger was going to drive her to the airport? And what if they have a flat and they break down and she has to spend her birthday evening with Klinger? What would happen if? And so they were always doing these extraordinary combinations where you found out another layer, where you explored another layer of these people. So you saw Jamie in moments when he wasn't consumed with his wardrobe trying to get out of the Army. You saw him bring Hot Lips a cupcake with a candle in it,
right.
and wished her a happy birthday. So it's a whole. It's these are, if anything, the methods that they used to keep the people real. They were real people in real situations and acting with honesty and reality.
One of our listeners' favorite what-if scenarios was when Hot Lips was in the foxhole with Hawkeye, and there was that tender moment and the kiss and everything. I mean, what was that like? Was it easy to do? Did you get a little giddy or shy about it?
No, it was. Oh no, it's. We loved working together, well, all of us. I mean, and Alan and I, of course, the old timers. We were in the pilot and the finale, and everything in between. And geez, I mean, his three girls grew up with me.
Right.
I mean, if Daddy was working late, they'd come home with me, and he'd pick them up, or else would all go out to dinner afterwards. Or no, it was working with one of your dearest friends. It was working with a family member, but more than anything, is working with an actor who occupied that character, and you were doing yours. So it was a joy. It was a joy. I mean, like, I know, like Gary Berghoff and I, we had, I thought, not enough scenes together, because when we did, it was like an explosion. It was so funny. I mean, it was so wonderful and delicious, and we would talk about it for days afterwards, about how why couldn't they do that more often? Because he was so terrified of Houlihan, and he just was so funny. I mean, rehearsals were a kick, would be hysterical. Couldn't get through it, and have to really laugh it out until we couldn't laugh about it anymore and had to shoot it. But or David Ogden. I mean, we had some scenes together that were just hilarious, where we it was just delicious when the actor has that tickling inside, knowing that if they were watching themselves, they would be hilarious. They would be laughing. It was so deliciously funny and dear and human.
Well, but I've got to throw a plug to Alan Alda, who has a podcast. Now, you guys got together. What was that like all together in his podcast? I mean, like going home again.
You know what? Alan and I were having lunch, and we were talking about his podcast, and he said, I have this thought that we all should do it. You all should come on, and we talked to him. And I said, God, yes, yes. I did a Harry Met Sally. Yes. I said, absolutely. That would be so great. It was so much fun. And he said, I'm going to ask everybody. And I knew everybody was going to say yes. So when we did it, we all knew what it was going to be like, because we don't. There are no secrets. We sit down and what you see is what you get, and what you get is who we are. There's nobody, being somebody else. They're all, and if we did try it as a joke, one of us would say, "Oh, come on, get out of your face," or I don't know. I mean, it just wouldn't happen. So that you're going to have a really good time.
One last question I have to ask about m.a.s.h. Looking back, and you say that you like longevity and stuff, things that go on forever, but there was a time when you wanted to leave m.a.s.h. because you were supposed to be in Cagney and Lacey. Now, Cagney and Lacey is a great show. Loved John Carlin that was in Cagney and Lacey. Are you happy that Fox wouldn't let you go?
Well, I wasn't happy or unhappy. I couldn't imagine myself leaving m.a.s.h.
Mm-hmm.
I think m.a.s.h. was a little bit of a miracle.
It was.
And I loved the character that I created in Cagney. I enjoyed. I contributed so much of myself to that movie. Ted Post. I helped him, or suggested to him to do this shot. Could he help me with that? And I would like to turn around the camera with that and things, and he liked all the stuff. So we kind of worked closely together on setting up some shots. I also wrote some of it. I wanted the audience to know why she was a cop. I wanted to talk about her growing up. Her brother was a cop and her father was a cop.
Right.
And I wanted to talk about it, so I wrote this kind of little cute thing about watching all that blue and that brass in the parade, and I just knew that's what I wanted to do. And there were like some other things that I set up, and I remember specifically working hard to have that ending where I actually do get Ben Hammer, my dear Ben Hammer, the villain, and I had to beg, scream, and yell to shoot him more than once. He was a big man coming at me, and he was going to plow me down. There was no. I needed an elephant gun if it was going to be one shot. I was going to have very heavy artillery. And so I didn't, of course. I had, regular automatic 45, whatever. And so I said, I have to keep shooting until he falls. Yeah. And so I remember we went to the network. We had this long, and it was a time when, first of all, I was in quotes a female, and here I was. I'm going to save the day before the artillery comes in from the guys. The guys are going to help me. No. I said, she's done all the work here, and we can't have that. I don't care how soon afterwards, but if you don't let this policewoman do her job, right, and do that, then we're losing here. We're losing the story. And so, but there were just some really great moments and fun that I had throughout, and also my brother kind of wanted me to do Cagney. Mm-hmm. He said, I think your audience just loves seeing you in uniform.
Yeah, it would be again. Okay.
I said, well, she does want to be a detective, so she won't always be in uniform.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I was very, very torn, because I loved doing the character, and I did. I studied with a policewoman. I studied with a rookie. I worked with my firearms. I went and did. I researched my role as a policewoman thoroughly, and I enjoyed the research a lot. And I went to school for detection and blah blah. So. But in much the same way as I researched my role as a nurse, right, for m.a.s.h. But when it came down to deciding, I was very, very conflicted. Mm-hmm. You just don't. It was like, how can you walk out of a good marriage?
Right. Yeah, right.
You have this incredible happening. Which we were. I mean, to this day, we're a family. We're family. And how do you leave that? How do you leave that when you have no cause? You know what I mean? You can't. How if somebody slapped me around and abused me, and what did that? I don't. There was. So I left it like this. I said my agent and I had a manager. In fact, they were married to each other. And I said, I'm not going to try. I'm not going to do anything. I'm going to let things happen. When it came up, Fox and CBS said, they didn't say no. They said would rather not.
Yeah.
They said would rather keep her where she is. We need her where she is. We want her where she is.
I bet they did.
And well, sure. I mean, why should be the most? She would have been the most difficult in a way to change.
Yeah.
Because she was the only woman. She was, it was, and then to bring somebody in, it would not to be the same, but it would have to sort of fit a kind of mold. I don't know. I would think that wouldn't have been easy. It would have been a different change. It might have been better. I don't know. But
no, it wouldn't have been better.
I don't know. But so I kind of said, I'm not going to push things. I'm not going to sit down with the network or the studio and say, this is what I want to do. I really want to leave, and I couldn't do that because that's not what I felt in my heart. I didn't want to do that. I didn't. I couldn't see myself leaving my famly.
Well, you're every studio's dream.
It was like it was bittersweet. Let me put it that way. Mm-hmm. It was. I can't. I'm sorry. I wish I could. on a different day, I might have been able to. But I felt I can't. I really can't.
I bet Three's Company wish they had the same loyalty with Suzanne Summers because it was a whole different deal. There's one other thing I've got to ask you.
It's that's like. It's not even in the same ballpark.
No, it's different.
It's so different. It's such a different thing. M.a.s.h. was just so, to this day, so one of a kind. I mean, to call it a sitcom is ridiculous.
Right.
It was its own category. How do you... What? It
was too much. It's too much heart. Special. Too much heart to just call it a sitcom. That heart, warmth, everything.
It was moral. It was educational. It was funny. It was dramatic. It was tragic. It was a real life, And I just think to leave. And when McLean Stevenson left, when he left, he said to me, "I know I'll never be in anything this good again.
Yeah.
I know it." And I said, "Then Mac, why are you leaving me?" I adored Mac. And
he had this.
But he said, I want to be number one.
Right.
He said, and it's not just billing. He said, I want to be like my own show. I want to do my own show, which he proceeded to do several times actually. And he had his own comedy stand-ups, and he was filling in for Johnny Carson. I mean, he had a whole other kind of career going as well. But he was very sincere when he said he knew he'd never be in anything like M.a.s.h. again, because it doesn't happen again. It's Well,
a lot of actresses aren't even aware that they were in something that has a huge cult following, if you will. There is something that everyone is wanting me to ask you, and this is probably bringing us to the end here. You were in a film that was so beloved with people of this station.
Yes, and that is, we got so many questions about this, which was Race with the Devil, with you, Laura Parker, Peter Fonda, Warren Oates. What was it like working on that film? I mean, it's an amazing cast, first off.
Wait, you kind of, I've lost you. What was it like working with
on the film with such an amazing cast?
Well, Peter and I were great buddies. Warren too, but for some reason Peter and I, he was then married to Portia, and we got to be good friends, and it was a difficult shoot.
I guess
we were able to become close friends because we were together so much. We used that RV for everything, and we were traveling in that RV, that whole journey that we took. It was a tough shoot, but it was you got to know each other, and I think a lot of the script needed our work as actors. We would sit around and talk, Warren and I, about our relationship, and we worked out what I thought were some things that were missing in the script. But it always had a kind of interesting potential in that it was one of the first of its kind where the heroes are up for grabs at the end.
Yeah.
I mean, we think, wow, they're done.
Right.
They're finished, and that was a real big twist. That was they didn't get away, and so it's become quite a cult film.
Well, I think it's kind of
interesting. Huh?
funny you talk about all your work with the animals, but you had a difficult day. Well, I guess you can't call them animals or reptiles, but you had snakes thrown at you. What was that like?
They're hello. P.S. They're animals.
That is true.
Okay, well there you go.
You can call them animals. I loved it.
Bring it on.
You work with live snakes.
Wow.
You work with the live snakes whose jaws are open. There are some that are sewn shut, no pain. I mean, they checked everything out with me. Trust me. Also, HSUS is very tight on this subject.
Yes.
There's that they're represented on films where you're using animals. There's no pain, no exploitation. No, I mean, everybody's looking out for those animals. And so you have the acting snakes and the live snakes. The live snakes, they're doing close-ups. There's like I don't know what you'd call it. Well, a barrier, but I mean it's sort of like a folding screen where we're shooting through an opening, getting the snakes in the RV in the kitchen area, and they're coming out towards the camera. Nobody is in danger, and so those are we call those the live snakes. And then there were those that we were handling, whose jaws were sewn shut, and again, their tongues can come out, so they look like they're dead, they're dangerous. But they can't bite you, and they can't open their. They were also, I think, probably milked for the most part. They didn't have. Not that would make a difference. I mean, if you got bit, you could get hurt.
Sure.
After a day or so working with them, I promise you that each snake had its personality. I mean, you really got to know. We're animals.
Right.
There is an instinct in us that has been buried under civilization and civilized behavior. But if like I know I talk to my animals all the time, and they talk to me.
Oh, absolutely, they do. Yes.
And I'm sure you have that experience.
Yeah. Yes.
So truly, after a while, those snakes all had certain personalities. You could name them in your head, and they were all different personalities. When I was doing, I did a 5-year run of this wonderful, Incredible Animals was the name of it, for the Discovery Channel, and then it was on Animal Planet for a while. And I had this great opportunity to be one-on-one with almost every animal on the planet, and it was so obvious to me that we were connected, that we were bonded, that we were, especially the primates, who are just so close to us in physique and behavior.
Right.
And but this one orangutan, I have a picture of her hugging me, and this look on her face. She's looking at the camera and hugging me, and if you had to put a little title or something under her photo. It's like she's thinking this or she's saying it. It's like, this is my friend Loretta. And she's looking into the camera saying, here we are. Aren't we cute together?
Right.
This is my friend.
Well, they have TV. They have a TV in her den, and she watches m.a.s.h all the time. So I'm sure. Well, I must say.
Listen, I have a girlfriend who has rescued a darling little puppy from a puppy mill.
Mm-hmm.
And she is a great fan of mine. And Mary sends me photos of Emmy. Little Emmy is her name. Emmy's watching me on television. And she sends me these photos of my little furry fan watching Margaret Houlihan. And so, well...
the saddest thing...
They respond to noise. They respond to...
Yes, absolutely.
When I turn around at the door and I say to the Yorkie, I'll be right back, and she looks at me.
Right.
Now, she doesn't know the words, I'll be right back. She hears the tone. She sees my face. She knows exactly what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I was just going to say...
Knows.
Like, the thing with Carrie Fisher, too, when she passed away, and she had that dog that she loved so much. And I was so happy they brought the dog to the screening of the new Star Wars movie, and when Carrie came on, she recognized her. The dog recognized her beloved owner. And the dogs are more human than we are at times. I'm so glad you're doing what you're doing.
Yeah, I wanted to mention, before we go, the last question here is, I wanted to ask you to talk to our listeners about Nutrient Body Sculpt. Now, what is this? I know you're working with them as well, right?
This is fantastic. She kind of, Maggie Jones is the creator of Body Sculpt, which I've done. It's a body wrap, different from any other body wrap in that it provides nutrients to your skin, to your body, that you stop producing at 35, 40 years old, and it hydrates your body as opposed to dehydrating, which I think most wraps tend to do, because most wraps are trying to get you to lose weight or inches. And in order to do that, you dehydrate.
Right.
And this is the opposite. We're focused on the health rather than the weight loss, although it happens anyway, because you're wrapping this not tape, it's like a cotton fabric. You're getting wrapped, and there is a pressure, so it's pulling your flesh together. But the main thing is what it does for your system. What I'm involved with is what she has developed for animals. Now, little Emmy, my fan who watches me on television, Emmy is an old lady, and she's been abused. She is out of a puppy mill. She's not in great shape. Then she got to a point at 15 years old, she's not a baby, where she could barely stand up. Now, Maggie's soak, it's grain. It's a kind of grainy substance that you put into a bathtub, and you soak your dog in this, and it's for aches and pains. We'll talk about soldier dogs coming back with PTSD. It's for dysplasia. Anyway, it heals is all I know, because after Emmy soaked one time.
Wow.
I have a video of her running around the room. And this was a little Yorkie who could barely stand. So we know our product works. She's developed something for dogs, cats, and now equines. She's now talking to people with stables of horses. And so that's how I came to be involved. She's part of my alliance. The name of my charity is a Sweethearts Animal Alliance, being the operative word, and we have allies as sponsors coming to help her. Pause for Purple Hearts is one of my allies, and we're always looking for sponsors. I would love to say tell everybody who's listening to get onto my website and find out how you can join me in my war, my battle against cruelty and death. I hate death.
Yeah.
Cruelty and torture, and so you just go to swithearts.org. You find out about Meggie and this incredible nutrient soak. And if you have animals who are elderly or who have been maybe hit by a car, lost a leg, and it's for any aches and pains. And as I say, the hip dysplasia, which actually comes with certain animals, usually like Pekingese, have that as a part of their DNA, and pugs and bulldogs, and so anyway, it's a miracle substance, and so I'm backing that big time. Anything that will help alleviate pain and suffering, I'm all for that.
Well, I have to get some for my cat because she's elderly, but I have to see if I can borrow it for myself because the CBD oil is just not cutting it. So.
Okay. Well, you just work it out with Meggie Jones. She's a part of my alliance, and you can find out whatever you want to do. You can get it on it when you get on my website.
Perfect.
And don't forget to want to mention the book one more time.
Book, absolutely. The book is Sweetheart, the watercolor artistry and animal activism of Loretta Swit.
Right.
Yes.
Same thing. Go on my website. You'll see some of the paintings, and you can buy the book or just donate.
Perfect.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah. I would love for you to buy the book. I am now in the process. I say this every day, and every day I think, oh God, I've got to work on it. I'm doing the second edition.
Oh,
and,
wonderful.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I'm very excited about it. So.
Perfect.
So there you have it.
Well, we encourage our listeners, head over to Loretta's website at switheart.org. And Loretta, I want to thank you so much for spending some time with us on a Saturday night.
Well, this was fun.
Absolutely.
You were a good date.
Oh, believe me, Terry's going to brag. He's like, Hot Lips said we had a date. I don't know.
Well, I'm just knowing somebody that heard this show is going to slip you.
See, this is how it starts.
They're right.
That's right. That's how
they get started, and she keeps that name forever.
And
all
I just
your fault.
And I just know there's somebody that listens to this show is going to slip you a pad under the stall and ask for an autograph. So.
All right. Thank you, Loretta. Have a great
Easter weekend.
You too. Happy Easter.
Or whatever you're celebrating. Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.